I just, yeah, I saw your comment. Thank you. That is greatly appreciated. Yeah. I'm gonna be honest. That's the first time someone has left a chat thing. That's funny. Yeah, I had a mic this whole time. That's hold on. Oh, it's 9 o'clock. Oh shit. That's fine. Yeah, this is what I'm working on. It wasn't obvious already. Yeah, as you can see, my style is just fucking wing it. Yeah, a lot of people will do this very intelligent thing, and they'll actually like do a trace, like a rough sketch, and then they'll trace over that. I just kind of skip that step and just go fucking gun ho. Um, yeah, I don't know. You may or may not have noticed. I spent like a good 10 minutes trying to draw a fucking hand, but eventually you get something that just works, and you say fuck it. All right, moving on. Now I'm gonna draw the back of a raccoon's head, and I'm gonna be real with you. I have no idea what I'm doing. I got no idea. And I'm just gonna, I might have to, I might actually have to look up a picture of a raccoon's head. They always show the front, but I need to see the back of the head. Oh, oh, okay. Well, the only consistent pattern I'm seeing is that the back of the ears are a little dark, and yeah, like right there. But the ears themselves are pretty white. Interesting how that works. Ears are white, and the back, we'll figure it out as it goes. Right now, my goal is just get something started so that when the time comes to detail later, it'll be easier to just jump into it because I have been holding off on this for way too long. But what I've come to the conclusion of is that the best way to get good at making comics is to fail at making comics as frequently as possible. Make every possible mistake in the book, and eventually, just fail horribly, horribly to the point where we could almost laugh about it. Just fuck it, fail and have fun failing until eventually what you're having fun with suddenly stops being failing and starts being, oh shit, I actually kind of like what I'm doing. Because I don't know, jack it takes me so long to just to decide on the panel layouts. Because it seems simple. You just like you can just draw like stick figures, but the stick figures don't tell the full story because then you got to consider composition and rule of thirds and perspective, vanishing points, horizon lines. There. I forgot how I completely forgot how an apron works. What does the back of an apron look like? Oh. Oh. Is that really what? Oh. It's an X. Okay, yeah, all right. All right. Oh, yeah, that looks right. All right. Oh, yeah, that's right. It's 9 o'clock. Probably should wrap up soon. I got a solid hour in. That's better than nothing. I may or may not do a separate stream. I've thought about streaming more than just drawing. So the way it works is that I have an office somewhere. It's in a separate location from where I actually live. And I do that because I I work from home. And I did that for like I'd say about 2 years now, and it got depressed. Like this is on top of school. I I was in college, and the pandemic made it so that a lot of this stuff had to be done from home. This is in my girlfriend's apartment at the time. I did that for years. Like I think from 2020 till like 2023, like the end of 2023, I was basically just doing all my work from home. And it's just in this tiny apartment, and you just go insane. Then I got a job. Then I got laid off from that job, but then I had another job. But this job I worked from home, so it was extremely flexible. But oh, you know what his... Okay, so I should probably lower the line of the tris, because I wanted to imply that he's putting his hands down. But yeah, as I was saying, I work from home, and it got really depressing. So I made it, so I started coming here to a different location, separate. And it kind of gave me the opportunity to just focus and not worry. I don't know why or how, but like being in a separate location makes it easier to just get into like a work mindset. And I did that for about a year. I didn't stream at the time. I just kind of drew for the sake of drawing. But it was the first time I took it very seriously, because I would dabble. I mean, if you're from iFunny, you've probably seen the shit. Most of that was just for... It's like a hobby. It's like a concept idea. It's just a way to take my ideas, make them in this more tangible form. Yeah, I heard that. Yeah, not that I minded too much. I think for so this is funny. A lot of people like they joked about how the pandemic they got isolated, they got separated from all their friends. Thank you. But oh shoot. I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, yeah. So that's one thing I tend to do is I lose track very quickly. But most people during the pandemic they were isolated. I was the opposite. I was single for the first 3 years of college, and like this girl that I kept in touch with through after high school, I started dating her like right before the pandemic. And I was living in a dormitory, and with the pandemic, we got kicked out of our dorms. So I just moved in with her. So whereas many people became isolated, I moved in with a girl, which I'm sure many people would really wish they could do. It was either that or move in with one of my parents. I think it's safe to say I made the right choice there. But anyway, yeah, it's a tiny apartment, and I would end up living there for years, and eventually I went crazy. Um, no, um, and for the longest time, I wasn't working the story. When I was in college, I had a lot of time to kill, so I would just spend it working on the story. It's something I've always done. Yeah, I am a fucking. Um, yeah, I consider myself extremely. I have a good thing going for myself. I do not, by any stretch of the word, take that for granted. Um, but I'm trying to like draw and think at the same time. But for a while, for a brief period after I graduated, um, I could tell my whole life story shit. Yeah, I mean, you can sort of see the phase of my life. If I have a YouTube channel, a second one. This one is mainly for live stream, but I have a second one of the same name, and you can sort of see on there. I went through a phase where I was experimenting with Let's Plays. But I know it was when I was getting my master's degree. And the nice thing about school is you have, or at least college, is you have very long break periods. So like winter break in like high school would last for a couple of weeks, whereas in college it's a whole month. Same with summer. Even in summer, I was taking like a summer course. I did that from home, so I had a ton of free time. So I was experimenting with Let's Plays, microphones, um, OBS, which is what I'm using now. And for a while, I was just playing with video editing. Just made a whole like the entire year of 2022 was entirely devoted to and I bet you if you were to go on iFunny and look at the publish the date that I uploaded, like there's a long hiatus in 2022 because I was not drawing in 2022. Like a whole year I just was not drawing. I was doing like video editing. I didn't know if it would amount to anything, but that's what I was doing. Um But eventually, once I graduated, I had to find a job, and that was hell. That was the that was probably the worst period of my life. I don't know how many people are looking for a job, but in the I had a master's degree in computer science, but because I was entry level, I that didn't mean shit. That doesn't mean anything because master's degree is more for research and writing scholarly journals or academic journals, whereas what I was looking for was just any job at all. How the fuck do I draw the back of an apron? I gotta like zoom in on this one picture of a guy with an apron. Okay. 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 Not good enough for now. And I already lost my train of thought. But yeah, oh yeah, the whole point was that I went through a long stretch of time where I just wasn't drawing and I was not working on the story. Like this is a story that's evolved probably since I was in middle school. Like it it's warped and shifted and changed like all the time. But I just took a break from it. There was a brief period of my life where I was like, all right, this was just a phase. I don't think anything's going to amount to it. It was dumb. I never should have done it. I should have just focused on computer science. Um, and funny enough, that was when I was like the most depressed. Like I was not happy with life. Um, and sure enough, as soon as I started drawing again, and like I told myself, I'm gonna work on this. I'm gonna make something of this, something, literally anything. And somehow that turned into like it went from being the most depressed I've ever been to the happiest I've ever been. And this was before I got like featured on iFunny at all. This was probably uh It was about a year before that. I did this and I just drew. I had no idea what was going to come of it, but I decided I was going to make a comic. I didn't know if it would be good. But I said, fuck it. So for like a year, probably starting in the summer of 2024, I had this bit of a side hustle where I would mow my dad's lawn. And I set up a home office there in his basement. And I would just take time every day to draw, even just a little bit. Now, I was still working on the story. The story that I'm working on right now, I had like a fuck ton of ideas for stories, all in the same universe. All in the same universe. But I kept it simple at first. I was like, all right, what's the simplest story I could tell? Probably the story that only has two characters locked in a cabin for an extended period of time. And I just spent like months just drawing concepts, ideas, thinking about things, writing ideas down. I had like a whole Google Doc just devoted to writing notes down until eventually I sort of narrowed it down. I thought like one thing that helped a ton was breaking it down into volumes. Because while I thought about these ideas for stories, they were never like concrete. It was more like just kind of daydreaming, really. There was no plan of the story. I would like come up with ideas like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if the characters were in this scenario? Or wouldn't it be cool if the characters did something like this? But this is the first time I'm actually like making an attempt to turn that into a concrete story. And this is pretty much what I do. Um, I don't really play video games as much anymore. There was a time when I did, but I think I just kind of one day thought to myself, it's like, okay, what do I want to do? What do I want to devote my life to? And fairly recently, it just became this. Most of the games that I do play, if any, it's always obscure shit. I think even as a kid, like as far back as like 2010, I was never into online games because I was a contrarian douchebag. All my friends were getting into like military sim shit, like Call of Duty. Not that I have anything against that game. It's just it was never what I was into. I was always into the more sandbox shit. Um, but most of the games I play are just on emulators now. I've once in a blue moon I'll play a modern game, but most of it's just weird obscure shit. Earlier this year, I don't think I've ever mentioned this to on iFunny, but I almost did one time. But I was getting into B3313, which is this Mario 64 ROM hack that just turns into this like into a maze. I don't know how to describe it. That's one of the games I would love to stream. I don't know. I was just yesterday. I was actually experimenting with like live streaming. I was on it was on an unlisted live stream. I was streaming Rethawed, which is this Tony Hawk's Pro Skater no, not Pro Skater, American Wasteland mod where you can just add any character you want. It's got this huge modding community. This like almost any character. It's like the G mod of Tony Hawk. PlayStation 1. Oh, was that I'm trying to think the PlayStation Classics or the not the haunted PS1 demo disc. That's what it was. Yeah. That was it. That I may have mentioned in the stream. That was um it was this collection from 2020 and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I loved the vibe of particularly the sauna game. I don't know why, but that game just speaks to me. It speaks to me so much. It is like if I could live somewhere, it would be in that game. I mean, aside from the part where there's it's got the low poly graphics and there's a demon monster that chases you by sundown. But aside from that, I wouldn't mind living there. Yeah, I think it's Finland. That's what it's Finland. Something about Finland speaks to me. Any woodsy environment. Oh shit, his face looks fucked up now. Okay, I could probably pull this off. Alright, here we go. Can I do this one go? Yeah, good enough. There. Mm. What was I? But yeah, I thought about it. I might experiment with that a bit. I know I want to make time to draw. I was almost debating whether or not to stay home today. My girlfriend had off because she was doing something later in the day, so I was kind of home longer than I normally would be. Normally I leave by around like 3 o'clock or whatever. Um, but I was at home a little later today. But no, I don't regret coming here because honest to God, this is more progress than I can normally make. Uh, Especially on a depressive state. No. Yeah, I am on autopilot right now with the drawing. I have no idea. Shit. How does this work? Like that? Okay. Did I not? Oh, yeah. This needs to be separated. There we go. I remember when that one comic thing got featured. You know, it's funny. It wasn't my first feature on iFunny. The first thing that got featured was just one page. Um, it was like one little drawing, like a couple text bubbles, and it was one of the It was one of the features that got purged. I wasn't too bothered by it because by that point, I think the momentum was already dead, so it's not like I was getting any new followers. I wasn't too bothered. I did like it though, and I mean, I could always re-upload it. Um, but what's funny is that after that happened, I was like, I was thinking, all right, I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna make something so good it's gonna get. I don't know if that's literally what I thought, but oh, I see. I did have an idea in mind. I didn't consider that. There is some subtle socioeconomic issues going on here. And consider there are so many things to consider. No, but what happens in this scene is he goes to the bathroom, and then Quebec uh, asks him to print something out of a fax machine. But that's not till later. So many choices. I don't like to I don't like to make it up as I go, but sometimes you kind of have to, otherwise you don't know you don't know even how to start. I'll have to. Now I'll think of a way I'll fit that in somehow. Oh, but yeah, what was funny about getting featured was that a lot of people were under the impression that like he was a main character. But the thing is that I was yeah, pretty much. It is a first draft, yeah. Although how much I tweak it, it's hard to tell. I'm trying to think. Oh, yeah. So a lot of people were really attached to this character, and I felt kind of bad because it really does not set a good premise. Like people, a lot of people are like, "Oh, this is so wholesome. It's so sweet." It's like, "Oh my God, you have no idea. You have no idea." The only reason it's so funny because the only reason I even drew that, the only reason I even had Stu interact with her was because I felt so bad for her. I was like, okay, there has to be something, like something to contrast, because he doesn't last in the story. He's only in the prologue. I like this volume was originally not even a thing. It was originally like it starts at volume 1. This takes place before volume 1. This is the prologue. So it's kind of a separate entity. It's these two characters, Stu and Quebec, and these are characters I've had since like I was in 6th grade, and they had they're like two bums or two like I thought I heard something. No, like these two guys. They go on misadventures and solve mysteries and shit, and oh no, that's the idea. Yeah, I want shipping wars. That's how you know you've made it when there's shipping wars. Even though I'm not even on the first draft of the first chapter of the first, and there's already, yeah, no, no. That's kind of the part. That's part of the story though. Is that so the whole idea is just it establishes just how much of an anchor Stu is. You I am not good with people, but I'm at the very least I can try at least to imply that this is just a fun guy to have around. He's like everyone loves Stu. Nobody questions Stu. Everyone he's just this nice guy to have around. So what happens when you have this character and you just like he's your partner. You spent your whole life with him and one day he's just gone and when someone like that leaves your life and you're kind of without him, like what does that do to you? Like the story gets so fucked up because eventually he's out of the picture. He's not dead, but he is missing. And then Quebec basically kind of spirals. Like the entire, I have it set up in 7 volumes. So this is the prologue, and then volume 1 is mostly just Quebec coming to terms with him not being in the picture anymore. Jesus Christ. Where's the... That's just bothering me. That line is... Which layer is it? It's one of these layers. Oh my god, which layer? It's this one. Okay. Oh, okay, yeah. So Stu, he comes back eventually, but now this is just between you and me and anyone that watches this stream in retrospect. But so the idea I had, so he's a sleeper agent. I don't know. I know I made that post where it was just me scrolling through my entire tentative full story. So the story is broken up into 3 arcs. This is the first arc. It's Borealis, and that's what I'm calling it. The first one's called Borealis. And then there will be a later arc called Australis, because this takes place in the north, the Arctic Circle, the Arctic Lab. And Stu is a sleeper agent. Him and Quebec were part of this like government conspiracy. Oh gee, it's convoluted as fuck. It's like it puts Metal Gear to shame. But yeah, they ran away from this government agency that was they kind of raised them, did experiments on them, and Stu is a sleeper agent. So his hat, his iconic hat, is actually what keeps him sane. And if he takes the hat off, or just gets really far away from his hat, then that activates the sleeper agent. Hence the one picture where he's speaking Russian. If he takes off the hat, the sleeper agent activates. And eventually, I'm still debating on like the specifics, but eventually they get cornered and Stu sort of sacrifices himself. He takes off the hat and goes berserk, and then he gets locked up. And through a series of events, he goes from like a random prisoner, and it's like Shawshank Redemption, where he just kind of uses connections to rise through the ranks and start some shit. And then he takes advantage of like a what do you call it? A proxy war. That's what it is. I see that. Oh my god, I played that. You know what's funny? That is the only Call of Duty game I've ever played. I rented it one time. That's funny. The only Call of Duty game, and that it's the one you referenced. Trying to think. Where is it? The only thing I didn't like about it, and this is really dumb, but so my friends were, or at least one of my friends was into the games, and we would do like the split screen or whatever. So in the other Call of Duty games that I've played, like you can see your little radar, and it'll have like the red blips that'll tell you where the other guy is, and it's like it's just you and like one or two other people, like because I think it's like four players at the max, split screen. You're in this giant map that's made for like 12 people, like this an online match, but it's just you and like one other person, and I have no idea where they are. I don't have these maps memorized, and I have and they would, because they know the map so well, they would know where to look for me, and they would kill me all the time. Whereas in like I think it was like Modern Warfare or whatever, you would have the red blip, so you at least knew like the general direction to go. I knew where to go. One time one of my friends, he got mad at me for screen peeking. He was like, I don't know where anything is. Let me play the game. But yeah, that was the last one I got into. After that, I mostly was just into like third person shooters, or not third. Oh yeah, third person, like Uncharted or Infamous, any of the PlayStation exclusives. And then I went through a phase where I was getting into GameCube games. That's a whole different story. Which one's that one? Jeez, I cannot talk and think at the same time. Did I? Oh yeah, I did have something like that. Yeah, it's good enough. Eventually, so, oh yeah, so Stu, he ends up in prison, and then he makes connections with pretty much everyone, and then takes advantage of a proxy war, because this is a world that just happens to have animal people. You don't see many animal people in this story. That's another reason I wanted the prologue, because the rest of the story involves only two humans, but what's easy to miss is that this is a world where it's like fucking regular show, where you just, there's some people are humans and some people are not, and you just don't question it. Except there's like socioeconomic things like if furries were real, imagine how fucked, like it's bad. There's already enough drama over like race. Now imagine if it's a completely different species. That can't be that unique of a concept. I mean, shit, isn't that like a thing? And I'm sure there's plenty of fantasy stories, or like Skyrim, there's entire factions or whatever. But yeah, it's that idea. It's like you have factions of different animals, and humans are kind of dominant. Animals are like the sort of second class citizens to an extent. And Stu takes advantage of that. There's like proxy wars between different factions. Um, like 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 imagine Canada and Russia, because up north it's not a lot of humans, it's mostly animals, like Arctic animals just going to war with each other. And Stu takes advantage of that to break out of prison, gain political power, and then overthrow a secret society, and then become the president of Antarctica through a series of events. Um, all the while being controlled by a sleeper agent. But he does take a back seat for the bulk of Borealis. Because Borealis, the whole point of that is to establish the cosmic horror of the aurora. Because nobody knows what the fuck that is. The second story, the second arc, is going to dive really deep into that. At least that's my plan. It's if I can ever get to that. Assuming I get the story. This story, when I first started, I was of the belief that this would be it. This would be my story. I'm going to focus on this and go from there. Prepare for this to be like the only thing I work on, if anything. But if I do finish it, and I get into some certain rhythm with drawing, then yeah, that would be the next story. I'd probably expand on the world a fuck ton. Okay, that looks better. That I have that is kind of the plan. I've really future-proofed my the whole story process. One thing that's funny is this was never meant to be the main story. The main story was the third arc. This this whole thing is an origin story, and it just kind of turned into my top priority. And I figured, yeah, let's just start from the beginning. The idea is that these stories, these arcs, I'm calling them, it's three arcs or three main stories. It's like a trilogy, but the first arc, all three arcs stand on their own. That's what I want. I want it to be so that if you were to just like completely skip this whole story, go straight into the second one, you could. And while there's a lot of things, or it works both so that you can jump into it, but also that if you did understand the previous story, there would be a lot of things to appreciate. But I don't want it to. I want it to expand on the world as much as it continues off in this just this long stretch. All right, I'm gonna do a fucking lazy ass move here. I don't like to do this, but what helps is sometimes I'll just to get the idea, just because I'm trying to. All right, there we go. Just kind of. See. Oh yeah, that looks nice. Maybe have the arm. You kind of have to at some point. I remember for one of the earlier comics. It's the one where they're in the car together. It's the one where they drive off a cliff. I was very hell-bent on not copying pasting the back seat so many times. So what I would do is I would just draw like a basic outline, just like the bare minimum, just so I know where to put everything, like the lines, the shapes, where the windows are, where the doors are, the seats, like the exact shape, and then I would add the detail individually for each one to give it the illusion that it's like hand drawn. I may or may not continue doing that. I don't know. I just it depends. It'll depend on the context, and as I keep going with this, I'll decide like what's worth it and what's not worth it. Because obviously, I'm gonna have to optimize something at some point to get this going, and maybe it'll just be this. I think the biggest hurdle right now is laying out the panel structure, like deciding like what panel goes where and how like to shoot each frame, because I can imagine it like a movie. Like when I think about these scenes, I think of it like a film. You know, I see the characters moving and the camera panning, but you can't do that in a comic setting. You have to work with still images, and you have to fit it all into one page, and it's very easy to like zoom way too far in, and then you zoom out and you realize, oh god, I can barely see what I'm looking at, and then you got to consider speech bubbles. A lot to consider. My hope is that if I just keep doing this, eventually I will catch on to the patterns and just do it by sheer instinct alone. That's, you know, what's funny is I went through a brief phase, probably in 2019, um, where I was trying to draw like more professionally. Like I would do like very smooth, clean line art, and then I would color it in, and it would look like try to look like professional, real comic art, not anything like what this is, where it's just a scratchy, uh, has this like scratchy, rustic vibe to it. Um, and I sent it to this friend of mine. I have like one friend. I don't have many friends. It's just my girlfriend and this one guy that I'll DM once every month, and I showed it to him, and he was like, "Oh, that's cool, but I really like your other style where you just kind of get all sketchy and crazy with it." Like I sent him a rough sketch of the character and then the line art, and he actually liked the rough sketch still. And eventually I said to myself, "Fuck it. If that's what I'm good at, I'm just gonna do it." You see a lot of art tutorials on YouTube talking about, "Oh, do you have does your sketches look good, but your line art doesn't look good? Here's some tips." And I'm like, "How about I don't listen to you and I just keep doing the sketch part and let that be my thing?" Because I've kind of come to the terms to the fact that art is never going to be something I do professionally. Like maybe commission work, maybe. But in terms of like working for a studio or working on concept art for a game or whatever, I've come to terms that that's probably never going to happen, and that's fine because I want to do this because I like doing it. Okay, I need to bust out the fucking reference. I posted this just yesterday. It's these two characters, like a raccoon and a fox lady in a hood. There it is. Okay. Okay, yeah, I might have to make the character closer. There we go. Barbershop music. I've that's a novel concept to me. I've never heard someone talk about that. I am familiar with it. That's interesting. I've never heard of someone involved with it. I remember in high school, I wasn't I wasn't in choir, but I was in orchestra. But it was interesting because it was like the music classes in general were like right next to the choir, and you could hear them sing, or like I at least you would hear them do their warm ups. Because in the start of the class, that's when we're all gathering our instruments and our sheet music and whatnot. And while we're doing that, the choir people they don't have sheet music. They just go right to it and they do their little warm ups where they go up like key majors. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I wish I could say that my father got me into drawing, but no, he no, he has always been supportive though. No, he's pretty chill. Although he does drink a lot. But we're from Wisconsin, so that's to be expected. Is that? Yeah, that works. That works. I'm trying to remember what got me into drawing, and I think it really was just I don't know. I've been drawing for as long as I can remember, and I think that's because as a kid, every show I can't remember all of them, but I just know that every show, if there was a show and I watched it, I would make an OC for it. I don't know why, but I was obsessed with OCs. Like every show had some sort of self-insert OC for whatever reason. And obviously I wanted to make it tangible. So I would just draw it. And with this story, I wasn't too much into like original stories. It would usually be like a pre-existing franchise. Um, like you know this like Sonic OCs. You know how it's basically a meme at this point. Like there are so many Sonic OCs, and I was one of those people. I had mine, and I was very passionate with the lore behind him. But what ended up happening was his lore became so disconnected from the source material that it kind of became its own thing. This story was one of the first exceptions to that. It started out as like a comedy almost. Psycho, I called him Psycho Stu. In this story, he's just called Stu, but I came up with this character named Psycho Stu, and I would draw him in these. We had these assignment notebooks, so it was this grid pattern. You know, you have like the day of the week and the different subjects. So like Monday for this class, for that class. Basically, it was a grid pattern. So what I would do is I would turn them into little comics. I would use the squares as comic books, and I would create stories with this character. He was like just he didn't look like this. He looked like a stick figure. Shit, I could probably draw him right now. He was literally just, and he would wear like, and he had the biggest dumb smile, and he had like a diamond, and a, wait, no, the hat would, it was like a weird turban. It was like a butt hat. I don't know why. Yeah, that's what he used to look like. That's why he looks like that. Somehow he just evolved. Nice. Let's see. We got. If I'll just wrap this up. Mm, Fuck it. Yeah. As I touch up on the details, it'll look different. It'll all work out. Let's see. There we go. There we go. Fuck it. Take every shortcut in the book. Yeah. Yeah, that is efficient, isn't it? Okay. There we go. All right. All right. I think this is a good point to wrap it up. I was originally gonna plan. I was originally. Oh my god, I can't talk. My original plan was to just see what I can get done in an hour, but it ended up being 2 hours. So that's nice. I actually got pretty far. Looks pretty good. Alrighty. Yeah, it was good talking to you. I'm gonna be real. I did not expect anyone to, for like a good chunk of the time, it was only like 0 views. And I was like, all right, well, I guess it's just me. No, it ended up being the first time I actually talked to someone. So that was nice. I may or may not stream again tonight. I have no idea. But we'll see. All right. All right. Bye-bye.